Good day, viewers, and welcome to another edition of 30 Minutes, the interactive program on Trust Television. With me today is Dr. Dakuku Peterside, a student union activist, youth activist, local government chairman, head of NIMASA, and a politician who has actually been a candidate of the All Progressive Congress in the gubernatorial election of 2015 in Rivers State. Dr. Dakuku Peterside, welcome to this edition of our program.
Thank you, and thank you, viewers.
We are glad to have you here today, and I don't know where to start. Presently, you are a columnist, which is surprising, or is it the activism that is pushing you into column writing? You just can't keep quiet in one little corner for a long while.
Not quite. I've always had passion for public commentary. As a student, even as a science student, I was editor of what was called Campus Watch in my university. When I left university, I got involved with a number of friends, and we started publishing what was then known as Port Harcourt Evening News, PEN. Even as a member of the National Assembly, I was commenting on national issues in national dailies on a regular basis. So I've always had passion, to add my voice so that people can know where I stand at every point in time on national issues. So the moment I left NIMASA, I had an informal conversation with my very good friend, the late Sam Nda Azaya, who invited me.
That is the publisher of Leadership newspaper,
to take up a column in Leadership newspaper. And from then, other media houses started picking interest in my commentaries. And every week we have managed to sustain it. It's quite challenging because I have other engagements. But I don't think there's anything greater than serving your country, apart from serving God.
I see that your PhD is on, is it organizational behavior? So which means you are busy with so many other like consultancy services, even as you do the column writing.
Very true. I'm active in consulting for a number of international organizations.
Is it oil companies?
Not quite. A number of international organizations, development agencies, businesses. Then locally too. I do a lot of work for a number of local organizations or national organizations or organizations that operate out of Nigeria.
So after your student activism, you now went into politics almost naturally. You were a local government chairman for about a year or so. How did it happen?
Okay, well, from my student days, I've always been interested in public service and politics. I got involved in the National Republican Convention, NROC, one of the two political parties set up by the IBB administration. At the time, I was still a student. When I graduated from school, I got involved in community organizing, community mobilization, non-profit work, development work. Then when the then Abacha administration, the military administration, initiated a transition program, I joined what was the then All Nigeria Congress, ANC.
You didn't join UNCP?
That was not registered.
Grassroots.
When it was not registered, Abacha's administration created 5 political parties or registered 5 political parties. One of the political parties was Democratic Party of Nigeria, DP, and I became the state financial secretary of the Democratic Party of Nigeria in 1996. Dr. Odili was our state leader and national secretary of the party. By the death, at the death of General Abacha, General Abubakar's administration initiated a new political process that culminated in the formation of three major political parties: the People's Democratic Party, Alliance for Democracy, and All People's Party, APP. I found myself being part of the People's Democratic Party under the leadership of Dr. Peter Odili in Rivers. I also became...
So you've always been kind of under the shadow of Peter Odili, just
I've always,
you and even your principals,
the right Honorable Rotimi Amechi. Yes, we are part of the Dr. Peter Odili political family until a few developments that happened in 2006 leading to 2007, when we can now say we created a new political lineage led by the right Honorable Rotimi Amechi. But which one happened first? You were SA to the I was special assistant to Dr. Peter Odili in 1999.
Before you eventually became a commissioner.
Before I became a
commissioner
local government chairman.
Under, then local government
chairman.
Right.
Then when then special advisor. Then when the Amechi administration, the inception of the Amechi administration in 2007, I became commissioner for works in Rivers.
That must be a very big post. I mean, given all the infrastructural things
I must admit,
and given the huge war chest of River State.
Not just the huge war chest. Under my supervision, we added 1,000 kilometers of roads to Rivers road network. That was unprecedented in history.
But has it not been surpassed by the current administration?
Not anything near it.
Governor Wike, because he seems to be
he's done
commissioning so many projects almost
He's done
everything.
A few flyovers, and he's not added much route network.
Are you saying you have done most of the red?
Double what he has done. We did double. I don't think he's added 500 kilometers of roads to the Rivers road network.
But
we did 1,000.
Just by the way he's always in the news, commissioning and doing all sorts of things. Maybe it's because you are in opposition to him that you don't want to acknowledge
honestly,
what he's done.
I think that I've always been known for integrity. I don't think anybody can deny that. They might deny me of any other thing, not integrity. The Wike administration, I acknowledge they have done a few flyovers, but they've not in any way come near the record of the Amechi administration, either in road construction, in education, or social services generally, or in healthcare, or in creating of employment, or putting institutional structures in place, or impacting lives in Rivers.
I know other governors are salivating, or must be salivating, that is at the prospect of the huge amount of money accruing to Rivers because of its oil producing status, and you see so many projects being done. So that is why from Peter Odili up to Wike now, with Amechi in between, all the governors seems to be full of action because there is so much money to spend.
I must admit that comparatively, it will appear that Rivers receives more money from Federation account, courtesy of 13%, than any other state outside the Niger Delta, aside from Lagos.
But is it well spent?
You need to consider three key factors. One is that the different governors we've had in Rivers State have had their priorities. Now, two is the challenging environment under which they will do development programs and projects. That's the second thing you need to consider. Now, the third thing is the fact that it costs more to do the same thing in Rivers that you would do in any of the northern states, whether north central, northeast, or northwest.
That is in terms of maybe infrastructure. What about in terms of human capital development? Because I don't hear of outstanding Rivers, human capital development in terms of maybe you've taken tens of thousands of students into ICT or into artificial intelligence or into some of the
I can share with
human
you,
endeavors that are the in thing now.
I can share with you a few of the things that the Amechi administration did. The Amechi administration, over a period of 4 years, sent 1,000 Rivers young men and women
But even
to
Kebbi
various
State,
countries of the
even
world.
Kebbi State just a few days ago was sending hundreds just in one go abroad. So 1,000 for the whole administration.
No, I said in 4 years. In 4 years, sent over 1,000. A total in 8 years. In 8 years, he sent over 2,000. Sent over 1,000 young Rivers men and women to some centers of excellence across the world. Now, if you still talk about human capital development, now that government invested heavily in primary education, which is the foundation of education. It built world-class primary schools equipped with ICT facilities. Now, the bigger picture.
Borno State, even with all the challenges of Boko Haram, has been building even
They've not built 400 new schools.
many new schools, mega schools.
I am proud of the governor of Borno, not just because he's my friend. He's done very well, and that's acknowledged globally and acknowledged everywhere in the country. But I can tell you that the then government of the Honorable Chibuike Amechi did what in primary education has remained incomparable.
But why is it that if you look at River State now, one of its biggest challenge is unemployment, which is pushing a lot of the youth into all these illegal refineries with all the negative effect it has on environment. I've seen the governor recently going on war, so to say, with them.
Acting drama. All right, I can tell you. Over a long time, we have not consistently invested in building human capacity or a successful generation of those who will drive Rivers economy. That's one. Now, two, especially in the last 6 years, we've not created the environment for people to invest in Rivers. It's not an attractive investment destination for a number of reasons. Security challenges
and so many other things. So we'll carry on with the conversation shortly after this break. Viewers, we'll go on a short break and resume the conversation with Dr. Dakuku Peterside, former member of the National Assembly, former local government chairman, and also the former DG of NEMASA. Welcome back to 30 Minutes. My guest today is Dr. Dakuku Peterside, former DG NEMASA, politician from River State, former member of the Nigerian House of Representatives. Before we went on break, we are talking about the peculiar situation in Rivers, why there's high rate of unemployment and all of that. You know, if someone from, outside Nigeria were to visit the country, he wouldn't notice any real difference in Rivers. He will even wonder if he's told all the money that has gone into that state and then very little in terms of the difference of the people there, their way of life, whether the quality is any better. Indeed, this issue of the black suit that is now enveloping the state capital is there to contend with.
Well, I don't think that if somebody who's been to the state capital 10 years ago steps in there now, will say he will not notice any difference. I don't think that's right. You will notice a difference.
But not commensurate
to the
quantum
with resources. That I agree with you. And we were talking about unemployment, and I said 3 key factors are responsible for a high rate of unemployment in that part of the country. The first one I said is that the state government, which is supposed to be a facilitator of both development and employment creation, we've not had consistency, whether in policy intervention or in the framework that will lead to the creation of employment. I acknowledge as a fact that state government on its own cannot create employment. You provide the framework, provide the environment, and drive the process that will create employment. There's not been consistency. And so you had the Dr. Dili administration who, with all respect, focused on power. At the time, the reasoning is that if you circumscribe River State and make it one state in the country where you have 24 hours power, it will attract investors.
But somehow that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. He made substantial investment in power and acknowledged that.
Right.
We'll give him a lot of credit.
But it's not just in power. One of the surprising things is to see, this recent brickbat over the airplane that the governors... Why is it that River State government and governors are so obsessed with having jets to ferry them around? The jets were, acquired under Odili, under Amici, and now Wike.
Can I put it in context?
Yes.
Now, Dr. Dili acquired a number of jets for different reasons. One, and that's something that has been ignored. He acquired one to serve as air ambulance for intervention.
Did it work?
It didn't work for a number of reasons. But that was the objective at the time. And you cannot say that it was a wrong objective. But he may not have followed through the process. The implementation may have had challenges.
And this continued.
So it was not necessarily for luxury.
Yeah, this continued, and now you have the governor, the sitting governor, saying he's just found a plane that has been kept somewhere, and he's spending $3 million to refurbish it and bring it back. 3 million euros, actually, value more than dollars to refurbish it. Why? Because all this suggests that you're just looking for contracts.
I had not landed. I'm coming to that. I said, so Dr. Dili acquired 2 aircrafts. One was supposed to serve as air ambulance, and you cannot fault the reasoning behind that acquisition. The other one was to facilitate the movement of the governor. Mind you, the governor of River State is actually a strategic governor within the Committee of Governors in this country. He had a series of engagements, not only in Abuja, all over the country.
But why is it that Nigeria's big men? Why is it that Nigeria's big men just want to live a life of luxury? Why is it that you must have a jet when there are commercial flights and when you can even take them on charter instead of spending big money, and then at the end of the day, the aircraft even disappearing in some cases?
Yes, you match a number of factors to arrive at whether that decision was right or wrong. I've mentioned here that Dr. Dili's driving motive was to acquire an air ambulance that would serve just anybody who needed medical attention. It was part of his integrated medical plan or healthcare plan. I don't know whether you fault that. It was not supposed to serve as an object of luxury for him.
But you did say there is one for him.
Two. So he acquired 2. One was supposed to serve as air ambulance. The other one was supposed to serve the office of the governor. Now, what Governor Amechi did was to say, listen, he traded in one and got another to replace that. So he didn't, technically speaking, acquire new aircraft. Now, mind you, he was trying to fix this. I had gotten the approval of the State House of Assembly to dispose of this, because the state didn't need 2 aircraft to serve the governor. You may
so that's the aircraft that is stuck somewhere.
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
Okay, now, can we move on? Because some kind of trend seemed to have happened where you were as DG, that is in Nimasa. There is this...
but we need to conclude what the situation is with
can you do that briefly? Just in a minute.
With Governor Wike. Now, Governor Wike, I can tell you with certainty, is aware of the aircraft. He was chief of staff for 4 years before going to serve in Abuja.
So he's just playing politics over the matter.
Not just playing politics. We are told that drama and politics ordinarily should not mix. But Governor Wike has acquired expertise at infusing drama in governance.
So can we move on to your tenure?
This is part of
your tenure,
which is noted for.
To your tenure as DG of NIMASA, there is this acquisition. It happened in 2018 also for 50 billion naira of a facility that is yet to be put to use, even as we speak. Because even recently, there's still talk that this floating dock will eventually be put to use maybe in March this year. But you said the same thing, that it will be put to use where you are still DG, which is several years back.
I can just explain. Mind you, the floating dock was not acquired under my leadership.
Yes, it's clear.
It was acquired by my predecessor.
Yes.
At the time we got to NIMASA, we joined the team, we realized that there were fundamental problems about siting and supporting infrastructure for the floating dock. The initial plan was to site it somewhere in Okerenkoko. But even
that is in the Niger Delta. In
the Niger Delta. Even at the time, there was advice by technical experts against it for very many reasons. When we got there, the Okerenkoko site was not ready. We reviewed that decision and thought that it would make commercial sense to site it either in Lagos, Port Harcourt, or Warri.
But why is it that several years after, to this day as we speak, that is nearly 5 years after spending 50 billion to acquire this thing, it is still lying at the naval dockyard? It hasn't been put to use even for one day. It is just maybe, except if the Navy is not charging you money, it will have been, run into many billions as well, just parking it there.
To explain that at the time, we tried to acquire a location in Lagos. It was challenging to get an appropriate or a suitable location. It took us some front and back. And we were also under pressure from the government of Delta State, asking, and in fact, at some point, government of Ondo, asking that we locate it situate it in Ondo and in Delta. We had even offered to.
But how come it was both? It was 50 billion naira was spent without even deciding exactly where
they had made a decision for Okerenkoko against advice, against professional advice. So it's not like they didn't make a decision. My predecessors should respond to this, but at least with benefit of hindsight, I can tell you that they have made a decision to site it in Okerenkoko. The idea is that it will serve commercial purposes and at the same time complement the Maritime University in Okerenkoko.
So can we come to the present day? We are on the verge of the next general election.
Oh, you will never let me land on any issue.
Yeah, so we are on the verge of the general election. Are you throwing your hat in the ring again? Are you going to contest for under the APC for the governorship of the state? Is it something you are considering, or
what I can say is that making up your mind to contest the election is dependent on a number of factors. One is that you need to consult with your family, consult with your God, and consult with the people.
So you are consulting now?
I am consulting.
What about your principal, Rotimi Amechi, the Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, the Minister of Transport, also become the Dang Amana, the trusted one of Daura?
I'm aware that he's been under tremendous pressure to put himself forward for the office of the president. A number of persons feel that he's got the competency, the character, the experience, the exposure, and he's got huge record to bring to the presidency. I've been engaging with him. He has not told me that he's made up his mind to run or not. But one thing I know is that he has started the process of talking to Nigerians across board, whether they believe that He's the man for the job at this time to succeed his principal, President Mohamed Buhari. But I think that he's under tremendous pressure, that I can tell you, with some degree of certainty or confidence, that he's under tremendous pressure to put himself forward.
But it must be a very hard slog. It could be a very hard slog for him, given that already you see Bola Tinubu and a couple of others have already signified intention. He's coming from the south, which some may argue has had the presidency not too long ago and all of that.
No, technically, that argument is not sustainable. Recall that President Obasanjo was president for 8 years. After the 8 years of his tenure, we now had our dear, highly revered and respected Vice President Yemi Osibanjo from the same Southwest. And so if you combine the tenure of both of them, they've served in the presidency for 16 years. Now, the South served for 4 years as president of the country. So that cannot exclude the South. Now, again, if Right Honorable Chibuike Olutimiri decides to join the race, he will come with two discernible advantages. One, he's been a governor in the south of the country who is celebrated for exceptional performance. He's repeated the same feat with Ministry of Transportation.
But
now, aside from being governor from the south, you know, he's got this affinity with the Igbo ethnic group,
who are saying that is their turn. So it's not about affinity. They want one of them.
Not a problem. But beyond wanting one of them,
or he will drop the Rotimi and just be
no, what the Igbos want today is a president that will deliver on the services, that will deliver goods and services in this country. Good governance. What is the goods? Good governance. You know, the average Igbo man simply wants the right environment for his investment to thrive.
So will you support an Igbo president then?
Why wouldn't I support an Igbo
president? Under your party,
If
a candidate under your...
If they present a candidate that is credible, competent, has got character, why wouldn't I?
So you rather choose that Igbo candidate over your principal, that is over Rotimi?
If he's better, my primary consideration is the good of the country. It's not about my affinity to an individual candidate. But again, that candidate has to be better than all those who are in the field now.
Thank you very much.
In my party, I've not seen any.
Thank you very much.
They are good candidates.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, for being on 30 Minutes. Viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of 30 Minutes.